Hello students, welcome back to Economics with Jagdeep. My name is Jagdeep. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Every day, firms across the world are producing millions of goods and services. For example, cars, smartphones, medicines, maybe luxury products as well, fast food, right? All of it are being produced at a constant rate. Now, the question to ask here is, are we producing the right things and in the right quantities? Are we producing them correctly? That means, are the society's resources being directed towards goods and services that people would actually want and would value? Now, this is the question that is concerned with allocative efficiency, and that's the topic for today's video. By the end of this video, you will not only understand what allocative efficiency means, you will also understand why markets sometimes are efficient and why other times they aren't. So without wasting any time further, let's get started. Now, before we define allocative efficiency, I would like to quickly talk about something because students often mix up these terms in exams. There are two types of efficiencies that you would want to remember for your IGCSE exams. The first is productive efficiency and the second is allocative. Now, productive efficiency is about producing anything at the lowest possible cost without wasting resources. So we are not just asking what we are producing over here, but we are also looking at how cheaply are we able to produce it. The second is allocative efficiency, which is the focus for today. And allocative efficiency does not just talk about the cost of production. It talks about if we are producing the right combination of goods and services that the society at large wants. Let's take a look at the definition of allocative efficiency. So, allocative efficiency would occur when resources are allocated to produce goods and services that the society wants the most, where price is equal to MC. Now, P is price, MC is the marginal cost. Now, what is price? Price is something that consumers are willing to pay for one more unit of a commodity. Basically, it is a measure of how much a good is valued by the people or the consumers. Marginal cost, on the other hand, is the cost of producing one additional unit of a commodity. It would basically measure up how much resources are getting used up to produce one more unit of the good. And when price is equal to MC, it means that the society or the consumers, whatever they value, would be equal to the cost of producing that particular commodity. And it is exactly equal to it. This is what allocative efficiency is. That means we are producing the exactly correct amount. We are neither underproducing or overproducing. For example, let us take, we have a book here and this book is costing $20. Alright. Now, if consumers are willing to pay $20 for this book, then we hit the equation, which was price is equal to marginal cost, because consumers are ready to pay exactly what it is costing. But if the situation is different, that means if consumers are willing to pay only 20 bucks, but the cost is anything greater than 20, let us say it's $25. Now, in this case, we are allocating more resources than what is valued by the consumers, correct? And this is where it is not worth it. And this is where you would say the resources are misallocated. We'll take a look at the diagram, how allocative efficiency could be represented diagrammatically. Students, if you found this video helpful so far, please consider using the thanks button below. Your support is super crucial for creating high quality free content for students just like you. All your support is appreciated so far. Also, if you're watching this video on your mobile, do hit the hype button so that YouTube could push this video to more learners just like yourself. Now, let us say we have y-axis, and on the y-axis we have price, and on the x-axis we have quantity. Okay, let's draw the demand and supply curves. So this is the supply curve. Supply is equal to MPC is equal to MSC. In the previous video, I have defined all of these terms. So I may not get into the technicalities of these terms, just the full forms. So MPC is marginal private cost, and it is basically the cost of production or consumption for the individual, that is a producer or a consumer. Marginal social cost, or MSC, is the cost of production or consumption to the third parties. Clear? Likewise, we have the demand curve. Let us say this is the demand curve. D is equal to MPB, which is the private benefit of production or consumption to the individual concerned, that is the producer or the consumer. MSB, that is the benefit for the third parties. Alright. Now this is where we have the equilibrium. This is price equilibrium, and this is the quantity at equilibrium. This is E. So at point E, what is happening? Demand is equal to supply. We also have another segment, which is marginal private cost is equal to marginal private benefit, and there's another segment which is marginal social cost. The C is gone here. Social cost is equal to marginal social benefit. At point E, everything is equal. This is what allocative efficiency looks like. Now, another way to identify allocative efficiency is the social welfare is maximum at allocatively efficient level of output. Okay, so social welfare is maximum. Now, how do we get social welfare? Now, if we do not understand these terms, which is consumer surplus and producer surplus, there's a separate video on my channel. You can take a look at that. So, social welfare is when consumer surplus plus producer surplus is at its maximum, or is represented by the largest area. Okay. Now, what is the producer surplus? Producer surplus is this region that I've just shaded with green. Okay, I might just mark it as well. I'll put it over here. This is producer surplus. How do you identify it? It's the area below the price line and above the supply curve. Okay, likewise, this area over here is the consumer surplus. Okay, I'll point it out again. This over here is consumer surplus. How do you identify consumer surplus on a diagram? It's the area above the price line, below the demand curve. And if we see this triangle here, this segment is what we call as social surplus. All right, I will mark that as well. This red triangle is your social surplus. And whenever the price changes, it would lead to emergence of welfare loss, and hence the area of this triangle would reduce. That means the social welfare or the social surplus is falling. Okay, let's take a look at that as well. Students, if you are finding this topic difficult, consider joining one of my online tutoring sessions where we could explore this topic in depth. I'm currently helping students from multiple countries like Singapore, UAE, Qatar, and Hong Kong. I invite you to contact me directly at the number displayed on your screen, and don't miss out on a complimentary 30-minute session. Now let's get back to our diagram. Now let us say if the quantity changes from QE to Q1. Let us say the quantity becomes Q1. Okay. Now at Q1, what do we see? This is where the supply is, and this is where the demand is. Correct? There's a disbalance between the demand and supply situations. What do we see here? At Q1, I'll write it over here. At Q1, what happens? Demand is greater than supply. What does that mean? It means that consumers are valuing the next unit more than the cost of production. That means there are gains from trade, the profit that is being missed. There is under allocation of resources over here. And you see, as I said earlier, social surplus won't be maximized if there is a deviation in the quantity from QE. So this triangle here that I am shading with blue now becomes the dead weight loss. This here is the dead weight loss or welfare loss. Let me name it as RNT. So triangle RTE is the welfare loss. What does it mean? That means consumer surplus plus producer surplus, which is this segment now, is not the largest area, correct? Now what would happen if the quantity increases from QE to maybe Q2? Let us say this is the new quantity Q2. Now at Q2 what is happening? The demand is here and the supply is here, correct? So supply is greater than demand. What does this mean? This means the cost of production of one additional unit, which is the MC, is greater than the price. And if that happens, what will happen? This firm is going to make a loss. And what does it mean? It means there is over allocation of resources. And this is where the misallocation happens. So allocative efficiency will happen only at this output level, which is QE, and this price PE. Now why do you think markets would fail to attain this allocative efficiency? As I said earlier, so at this point E, the E is lost. So let me write E over here again. So at point E, what is happening? We are getting equity between all of these segments. That means the businesses are producing just exactly what consumers want. Producers and consumers, private benefits and costs are equal. And at the same time, social costs and benefits are also equal, and they all are equal with each other. That's what allocative efficiency talks about. But do we really get this situation in real world? No. That's why you would see that in a free market economy, generally markets would fail. So the markets would fail when this equity is not attained, and because of this you may get two scenarios, which is over allocation and under allocation, correct? And since this market is like a perfectly competitive market, there are some assumptions that kind of define the perfectly competitive markets. For example, assumptions like perfect knowledge in the market. So do buyers and sellers really have perfect knowledge in real world? No, they don't, right? And that could lead to market failure. We are also assuming that firms would move towards profit maximization as their goal, and consumers would move towards utility maximization as their goal. But if firms deviate from this profit maximization as the goal, or consumers deviate from utility maximization as their goal, then the markets are likely to fail, because obviously in those situations you will not get the maximum social welfare. So the key takeaway for allocative efficiency would be private surplus is equal to social surplus at the equilibrium. Okay, so I shall meet you in the next video on externalities. Until then, bye now. Take care.